I know that therapy can seem like it is just digging up old wounds and making shit worse, but I promise you, babe, it gets better. Hey, y'all, and welcome back to my channel. Well, I was gonna say, if you're new to this channel, hell, I'm kind of new to this channel because I am starting over again. So if you've watched this channel before, it was probably something a little different, but we move, we're pivoting. And today I wanted to come back with a topic that is very, very important to me, and that's therapy. If you clicked on this video, then you probably are somewhere on the spectrum of thinking about therapy, currently in therapy, or also on your therapy journey somewhere. So I wanted to share a little bit about my therapy journey, and hopefully it can help you decide if it's right for you or give you some encouragement that it will get better. I know that therapy can seem like it is just digging up old wounds and making shit worse, but I promise you, babe, it gets better. And I want to share my experience after spending a year in talk therapy and all the things that I learned. And so let's jump into it. First, I want to tell you just a little bit about how I got into therapy. Last year, I want to say in like February, I was feeling just so freaking low. Couldn't explain it, didn't know why. And I was just sliding into what I call a mental regression. It's not like, it ain't full-blown depression, but it's like you on the way. And I said, you know what? I need some help. And this was my second go round going to try and find a therapist or going through therapy. I used BetterHelp probably a year before that, after dealing with a pretty bad breakup. And then this time I took the route of Open Path. I had a friend who had a great experience with them, so I decided to give them a try, and 10 out of 10 would recommend. I'll leave it down in the description if you need to check it out. One of the things that I learned, I would say, throughout this journey, and I want to start with this point, is that the healing work is hard. Really hard, like hard as fuck. And I want to start with that because I think, as much as sometimes we talk about the goodness of therapy and what it is, I do want to address that the work is really, really hard. And that's a lot of times why people don't want to get into it to begin with. And I'm not here to tell you that it's not going to keep being hard. It's going to get harder even before it gets better. It's going to get worse before it gets better. And I know y'all probably like, don't nobody want to hear that shit. But it's just like weight loss, honestly. Before you start to look good and get snatched and like, ooh, yes, that gym gonna drag you. Okay? The gym is gonna drag you. Cutting out the stuff you love is gonna drag you. Not being able to just drink your margarita every night or every other night or whatever, it's gonna drag you. And therapy is gonna do the same. So I just want to say that's one of the number one takeaways from this. I think for anybody to know before you embark on your therapy journey, or once you get on your therapy journey, why can't I talk? Journey. The work is going to be hard, okay? It's going to be hard. But it's going to be worth it, I promise. So next up for me, and this is something that's deeply personal, but I learned that in my relationships, most of the time, I was the problem. Y'all, that revelation right there, not only was it embarrassing a little bit, but it's like, girl, you was the problem. And that is partially because the way that I was interacting in relationships was based on my familial connections and experiences of how we shown love and how we experience love and how we give love. And I was raised in a family where it was very well rounded. I came from a really great family. I'm not taking that away from them. But for the men, it was always heavy on the we provide for our family. So the emotional part was kind of missing. So whenever I would date men, it was kind of the same way. It's the heavy on the I provide. And I'm like, it's heavy on the what do you provide? And that kind of helped me take into inventory that I was being very transactional in relationships. And I needed to adjust that. And so even though I would meet some really great men, don't get me wrong, because these men still treated me very well and they still would show up for me in those ways. And I meet a lot of men who show up for me in that way. But I realized that once I would get into it, it's like, but I need more. And I didn't know what that was until I got into therapy, or I started to unpack that. And I'm still figuring out what that more looks like. But yeah, I was the problem. So shout out to all the men that I dated in my past. Some of y'all was really good dudes. I would say the majority, actually. The majority of them were really good. It's just that I was the problem. So, hey, that actually takes me into my next point. I realized that in order to fully receive my wealth abundance, I needed to heal my emotional traumas related to finances and family. I'm still making sense of all of that, even still. But I recognize that for me, I just do not care about money, and that's something I realize. It's important, it's useful. I like what it does. But anytime I have an abundance of money, y'all, I get my hands on a lot of money, I would be so ready to spend it on other people. Not even on myself. Like, I spend money on myself, but I would be so ready to give money to other people. And I realized that goes back to, again, that transactional piece that I talked about, where I needed that in relationships, and that's because that's the way, again, my familial relations relate. Financially, we were well taken care of, and so that's what I'm used to as a representation of a large representation of love. But that's not the way I would like to receive love. So I had to heal that, and I think God wasn't going to let me walk into my full financial abundance until I addressed that issue in myself. And now that I have, things are like, because now I won't be in the position where I got into the wealth abundance so early that I started to immediately take care of my family in a way, and friends in a way, that I would get stuck in that cycle to keep working and keep working, even when it wasn't fulfilling or wasn't making me feel good. And so a lot of my early 20s and even late 20s, let me not even hold y'all, I used to quit jobs and change jobs so quick because I would be like, I'm out of here. I don't have any kids. I don't have to deal with this. Even though I wouldn't recommend it, it definitely served me well as far as finding my true happiness and getting me on the path to where I needed to be. So I think I will be walking in my purpose in a way that I think a lot of people may not have given a chance to. And that's because I was able to take the time to explore that. And now that I have, then the wealth and the money will come even easier, because money has always come to me easy. So, yeah. Now, this one is a big one, and some of y'all may or may not relate to this. And it was really deep and kind of heavy for me once I really realized this. And, you know, I'm getting to that age where the biological clocks are ticking. And when I tell y'all, mine is at a whisper. Like, I can't hear the girl. I can't hear her. She is not making any sound. And for a long time, I thought, okay, I don't want to have kids. And I was like, I'm not into kids like that. I didn't like hanging with kids when I was a kid. I used to love to be with my grandparents and with the older people. I was just always an old soul. So the kids just never did it for me. I think kids are beautiful, sweet, and wonderful. I love to see them. I love to be around them sometimes. But the maternal gene was just not clicking for me. And I was like, well, maybe it's because I grew up in a blended family. I was raised partially by my stepfather. He was in the home with us. My grandparents were divorced. It was a whole thing. Like, I really grew up in a tribe. And so I thought it was maybe that. But then I realized that uncovering and unpacking more things in therapy helped me realize that because I was parentified so much as a kid or as a young adult, I had been mothering for so long that I just don't have the desire to mother in that way right now. Like, I don't feel like I'm missing that thing of being a mother. And I think it's because even though I was a kid, nobody really ever looked at me like I was a kid or ever really treated me like I was really a kid. I've always been kind of giving advice and being a place for people to lean or bearing a lot of emotional weight for other people as well. And so that desire to mother isn't there. And I was having this conversation with a friend who is also very indifferent about having kids. And she has a similar experience about having to mother a parent in a way that kind of is like, well, damn, I've been mothering this whole time. I've been mothering my parents. And that's really real. I realized that that's what my wound was related to, was that I've just been, it feels like I've been mothering for so long, y'all, that the desire to mother is just not there. It's just not there. And it's a little bit sad. It's a little bit sad. And it's not that I don't ever want to be a mother. It's just that I don't feel that. And here I am, I'm crying. This is another thing that comes from therapy, is that I'm just always crying. I had a friend share some news with me the other day, and it was good news. And it was like, I started crying. And she was like, oh my God, girl, oh my God. And I was like, girl, I am just so emotionally dramatic these days. It's not even funny. But, oh my God, y'all. That's another thing that has come with therapy, is just being emotionally vulnerable and being okay with that. Sometimes I just feel the urge to cry, and sometimes I'm in front of friends. Sometimes I'm in front of strangers. Sometimes I could be at the DMV, y'all. It does not matter. But I've been just crying more. I very rarely cry in front of other people. I never did. I never shared my feelings or emotions, really, because I have always had to be the strong person, or had to be there emotionally for other people. It happened with friends. Like I said, it has happened within my family. And now I went into therapy because I found myself crying all the time and not knowing why. And now I am in a place where when I am crying, I know exactly why that is. And sometimes it's happy. Like, sometimes I'm genuinely happy for someone, or even for myself, and the tears just come up. And my therapist has helped me learn to embrace that, because sometimes the hurt, especially the hurt, that's the one you don't want to usually cry for. And so I would be going through that in session, and she would just be like, no, let's stick on why you got emotional. So every time it happens too, it is a reminder for me to sit with my feelings and say, what about this is making me emotional? And I can analyze that and do what I need to do with it. So, and that was hard, y'all, because I'm a G, baby. It be so hard just crying all the time like that and being okay. I am so silly and I laugh at everything. I'm one of those people who nervous laughs. Like, crying, it was just so out of my wheelhouse. I could not. That was hard, y'all. It was hard. But now I embrace it and I just cry. And I know it still makes some people uncomfortable, because it makes everybody uncomfortable when people cry. And now when people cry, it doesn't make me uncomfortable, because it's just like, girl, I've been there. Go ahead and let it out. And sometimes you don't need to hug the person. You don't need to do anything. You just need to let them have that moment. That's how I feel a lot of times. I don't need a hug, or I don't need anything. I just need to get that. The cries, it comes out almost like a laugh, or like anything else. It's an emotion I feel. I laugh when I'm happy. I smile when I feel good. Sometimes I cry when I feel good. Sometimes I cry when I don't feel good. And so it's just a natural reaction or emotion now. So it's like, it is what it is. And real G's cry, apparently, because here I am. So another one that was really interesting too was codependence. I'm a codependent girly, but not in the way that I thought. I thought I wasn't codependent because I move alone. Like, I love being alone. I'm an introvert. I love to recharge alone. Even though people meet me and they think I'm extroverted sometimes, I'm not really a people person, but I can be when I need to be. Especially if the battery's charged. Like, I'm good to go. But when it's time to recharge, ooh, when I tell y'all I love to be in the house, ooh, I love it. I realize that I am codependent in the sense that I need to be needed. I don't necessarily need someone, but I need to be needed. And when that hit me over the head, I was like, ooh, that makes sense. Because even in gaining friendships, I used to be a person who never actively chose friends. Friends would always choose me. And even in that role, I was very passive in the fact that people who would usually choose me were people who needed someone who needed to be needed. And I think, again, that comes from, I was very much in my family, like, I'm kind of everybody's go-to girl. I was literally born into my family in the midst of a lot of emotional and physical change and chaos happening in the lives of the people around me who raised me. And I don't think I really think that sometimes they didn't get a chance to even really deal with some of that grief and some of that shock or some of that, because they began to just strictly focus on, there's a new baby in the family. And so they put all their energy there. And so emotionally, there was a lot going on. And I was being there for them emotionally, literally since the womb. Like, and I think a lot of that happens with a lot of parents. Sometimes you are having a baby in distress, especially in our communities. Babies are coming into families in a lot of distress already. And it creates a blanket of calm over a whole lot of distress. And I was just always needed. And so I found friends who, they need something from me. It's okay. I realized that when I really started to really make friends past college, That's when I started to be able to take inventory of the people who were actually not codependently needy like that. And they were just genuinely like, I just fuck with you. I love you. I love you down. Like, and they have been, oh my God, it's been so good to see that. But to see it from the lens of, girl, you was part of the problem. Now I am very intentional about choosing my friends and not allowing people to choose me. Because I don't want to be needed anymore. I don't want anybody to need me. I want people to want me around because they genuinely like me, care about me, and fuck with me. I'm tired of having to be the vibes. Like, I noticed that a lot of people would invite me into friendships or try to bring me into friendships because they need vibes. They invite me places to bring the vibes. I don't want to bring the vibes no more. I don't want to be needed for vibes and energy. Like, I want to just show up. Somebody else be the vibes. It's your party. You be the vibe. That was really eye-opening for me. And so codependency can look like a lot of things. Not just someone being very needy. You can also have a deep desire to be needed. And you need to check yourself about that. Okay? That's what I had to do. Lastly, the biggest thing that I took away from therapy for me personally is that I want to be a therapist. I loved therapy so much, I want to be a therapist. I know that sounds crazy, but in actuality, I believe that it was always a part of my destiny. I have always been someone that people sought advice from. I always try to give sound advice. I've always been about self-development and growth and being the best version of myself. I've always been that way. Whether that's spiritual, emotional, physical, I'm always trying to get better, do better, be better. And getting that mind part right was like crazy. And it was so funny. I was so embarrassed to tell my therapist that I wanted to go back to school. I was embarrassed to tell a few people because I swore up and down. I was like, I'm never going back to school. I'm never getting a master's. I'm not going back to school. I don't never want to be in anybody's class again. And when I finally told my therapist, she was like, why were you holding back? Why would you not tell me that? She was like, I think it's a great idea. I think you would be really good at this. She was like, if you feel passionate about it and you really feel that, then you should absolutely do it because that's the kind of person you need to be for this type of job. And currently I work as a realtor and I love it. I love helping people find their homes. And I'm not going to give that up. I'm still going to do that while I go back to school. And I'll probably even do it past that. I don't know. But what I've learned in doing and helping people go through that process, especially Black women who I predominantly work with, is that a lot of us have a lot of traumas that kind of manifest into financial traumas. And those financial traumas are really holding a lot of us back from achieving the type of wealth, abundance, lifestyles that we really want to have. And I talked about this with my own financial traumas. I realized that a lot of that was holding me back because for so many reasons, and I think I'll do another video really getting into that because this is getting a little long. But so many of us struggle with feeling like we don't have enough, or scarcity mindset, or overly abundance mindset. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of things that play into this. Like, I noticed that it's just a lot of self-doubt and fears that are placed in us that have nothing to do with us or our actual present experience. A lot of it is rooted in the things that have happened to us or the things we've seen within our families, the way we grew up, the way we were raised. If some of us had issues with our credit being abused because we came from families with bad credit, it's just a whole lot of things. Or we've never seen anyone own a home, and so it creates a lot of doubt and fear in us, or we've never seen them own it correctly or keep it. And even for us who have seen it, there are things within us that still keep us suppressed or keep us small that we need to kind of dig through and pull out and remove from our mindset. So that's really where I see myself going. And I'm going to take y'all on the journey with me because school starts in the fall, y'all. So if you're watching this at whatever point in time you are, you may see some other videos about that journey or what I'm learning along the way. And yeah, so that's where that is. So I'm really excited about it. But had I not gone back to therapy and put in those 52 plus weeks, plus I hear so many people saying it's so hard to find a good therapist or somebody I can relate to. And so I want to be the therapist you can relate to, because I can relate to my girl. Shout out to her. And I want to be the therapist that the next girl, lady, young lady, woman can relate to too. So if you made it this far, thank you for watching this. I really had to get this off my heart because this was so important to me. I really hope this can help somebody on their journey to deciding if therapy is right for them, if it's not, or help you keep pushing if you're getting a little discouraged. Because sis, I know it's hard. It's so hard, and you're going to want to give up, and you're going to spend months where you feel worse than when you started. And it's going to be so many ups and downs and lows and highs, and eventually you'll get to that other side where it's like, damn, I got that shit up off me. and I got this, and it feels so good, y'all. I want y'all to feel that too. So thank you for watching this video. I hope you found this helpful and useful. And if you did, please give this a thumbs up or share this with a friend who may also benefit from this. And if you would like more content like this, please be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for more videos where I share my journey of mental health and getting more into the mental health space. So until the next one, bye.